Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the June 18th, 2025 Lower South Township Communication Committee. Thank you all for coming. Our first call of business is to approve the minutes from the May 21st, 2025 meeting. Everybody should have in front of them a copy of the minutes. Thanks to Grace for putting this together. If there are any questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as displayed printed from May? Do we have a second? Second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great. Thank you very much. Moving on, our next order of business is public discussion and visitor comments. We always ask if there are any members of the public who would like to speak. We do have one here specifically to Carlson, if you'd like to continue discussing the zoning items we'd like to hear. Before that, though, I would like to make a public comment, and if anybody else has one, I just would like to say for the record that, unfortunately, Ms. Lair is going to be stepping down from the Communications Committee due to engagements at work that are global, and she didn't know about. Very much to extend our thanks and gratefulness for her work and contributions that she has contributed. Yes, sir. And we will be replacing that as well, as discussed at our supervisor meeting this morning. Those in favor of Mr. Carlson joining, so we look forward to that as well. But I just want to thank Jessica for the effort as well. Any other public comments? Okay, we're moving on, Rob. If you'd like to continue.
So I'll say the same folks are here tonight. I think the reason for continued discussion was going to be to accommodate some of the other members. So I don't think that's necessary tonight.
I'm going to ask, I'm not going to argue with that. I was curious if you had anything else to add to it, but for those who are joining, we encourage anybody to please check out last month's meeting. Carlson brought up an idea of how we can label, I shouldn't say label, but how we can classify different avenues for reaching people, different types of people. You have people who have, for example, to school, other people who might be older in the community, and different parts of their life. My parents, I'll use that example just so it's fair. Well, at one point they're here with family, kids, another point kids were in college, and now they're here as well and stuff. So throughout the years, they have different interests, ways of communicating. That's what that really touched, and was very good classified. Thank you for that.
So on that topic, we had mentioned this last week. We had our list of communications. Really kind of 16. We had placement before. And one of the things that we had kind of talked about last time, I think it was a little challenging, was the target audience. Well, we had talked about briefly about this last time. Was something to align the personas with the channels.
Yes,
It's easier, but probably once we agree on the personas, we say, okay, which channels best fit those personas? One more thing that we can kind of consider when we talk about communications and the way channels.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And no, absolutely great insight. And just use my parents as an example again. Text message would not be the most efficient way to get in touch with them. However, take my younger siblings who also found and whatnot too, 100% some of the old. Very powerful. Any other comments on persona or any other public comments anybody would like to share? Right, moving on to old business. Old business A, proposal to amend our resolution for the Communications Committee to add associate members. So we did discuss this at our last two supervisory meetings. And, since then, some of the supervisors talked with manager, when this is kind of discussion and all, and kind of had the idea that they kind of all want it to stay the same. As we discussed, I should back up a little bit, thanks to Perry's insight on membership. They wanted the idea to stay the same as our other committees, which I kind of, what we were gearing towards is similarly to the park. The park board has a member of 7, does not specify it has to be a supervisor, it just kind of keeps the generic 7 people. And they like that idea, still like the idea of associate members as well, but ask that if we could kind of just word our membership the same way as the park boards. And that idea of our board, that was kind of passed on to the solicitor to give that message to small, that's the style they like. In addition to that, though, we're still working then to add associate members, so that's the verbiage, the wording that they're going to get that together. Additionally, though, as I mentioned earlier, that the board of supervisors is in favor of Carlson joining the board and our committee, so we're excited by that. But that's where we are with that right now. We're going to continue to stay up to date, but I know that we keep bringing this up, and it is something that our we are totally back our meeting. That's something that needs to for them. Make sure we get together. So now that we formed it at our meeting this morning, that would be our.
Yeah, does that 7 include the associate members?
I don't believe it does, and that would be an additional. That was a good question. But I did look. I was trying to get a copy of the park board ordinance. Couldn't find that one. However, I did go to the. And I was doing this beforehand. However, I did find that you have numbers a set, and it doesn't specify, just 7 members of the union as well.
Now, do we need to change that then?
Well, what's going to happen is this was the draft that was put together by the township solicitor, with the red letters, and here it's added for that. One thing that, because you pointed out exactly where our membership is put together, that is the words that they want to make similar across.
Okay.
And that's, they will change that, yes, so our solicitor said, our solicitor is looking at this at the moment, and we'll redraft it and make sure it's the right verbiage, and still include the associate members before bringing it to the board of supervisors. Then from there, it will be voted to officially become amended. In that meantime, we should be able to elect Mr. Carlson as well. 2 different things there, but hopefully we sum them up, but thank you for asking that as well. But that's a good thing, and we also discussed too, originally, and for anybody just watching this meeting now, one of the things that started the idea of having associate members, we had a lot of interest in it. When we reached out to residents or residents who reached out were interested in committees that we had. There was a majority were much more for communications than the others, which is why we like to have the options, obviously, for us, and we say we had more people as well.
So once this is all done, there will be 7 members and how many other associate members?
Well, at the time, we do have 3, but since we are increasing the members, that's something we want to suggest that it should just be 2, or you guys 3 in a sense.
So 7 and 3 is the member, the only requirement is membership is for you guys think?
You guys will listen to the requirement. Is there, I think there may be, excuse me, Grace, do you know offhand if there's any other requirements for current days? Might be an age, but yes, you have to be a resident. It is on the website, I don't know, let's say, but I think that well. That was a great question. Sorry.
I would do the grade. Doesn't mean we have to have it, it's just requested.
That's how I see it too, further down the road, complete change. This is something that, as I said, they want to make it personal, so I'm not sure if they're going to do any updates to the park board, but I know that, well, Supervisor Kraus on the board, he said it's a good idea for park board too, because he needs to chair of that board. They have members that are back actively giving input from the audience too, to help great to add. So it just adds more insight. As to whether or not we want to make that or suggest that it's members, as we talked before, of the business, residents for business, that could be something that we kind of lean one way or another. we kind of were split last time with that as well. I was really hoping to have Harry's insight on this, but, I kind of like the idea of. I really do not mind those ideas, if we can have more people feel like that, as you said, as a great insight. However, keeping it across the board, maybe they would want to keep it there, maybe consensus. All in the state, so maybe we want part of the state too. But I say on that, I feel we should still kind of neutral. And we'll take Harry's insight, well. So we got that, for insights. But I see the benefits of those things.
So while we're there, people expressed an interest in communication, in the economy, we have slots, and we feel those are maybe reach out to them to open another.
Absolutely, and that is considered done, once we officially make this active, that was something that was discussed at a phase meeting. Well, and yes, the answer is, when we had different things to fill, we picked, we had a couple. That I think besides Charleston, Harry, I think, I don't know the longest, but we at least had two more, two agrees, two or three.
At least two.
Yeah, it was, and that was a good, as I say, it was overwhelming, some of the others only had, two, but we definitely had all that, so there was interest in behind those spots that weren't open, so hopefully they might still be open. However, I could almost guess that in our past history, when we do have openings, I'll send a message out, we let people know, and use our communication methods to make sure that people are aware, so I do feel very strong with that. And hopefully we can fill in the additional associated numbers as well, that's an option. There might be somebody who might, and that's something I never thought of, now we have extra spot, that might be something that somebody might just feel more comfortable with, just putting some input there, so that's great opportunity. Great questions, thank you. Anything else on this? Thank you all again for insights on this, where you can get this official. Right. Moving on to new business, discussion of township success at Harleysville Market. I will turn this one over to our liaison to the township, Kelly, and give some feedback on how that went. And I will say this month that I wanted to stop by. I actually was in town for a little bit because my daughter works at the camp next door, so we stopped by early before it started, but I had a job, pretty another professional. So I'm not able to attend, but I'm curious to figure out.
Yeah, I just put this on here so I wouldn't forget. I think it went well. But I didn't speak to so many people. Not a lot of people came up and asked questions, but I saw John, and a few people actually did say that they were glad to see us there. So I think we'll take that and run with it, and next time hopefully we'll have more resources for people as other larger projects come along from the township. I think people will be more interested to hear what we have to say then and ask questions then. Doug came, the Director of Public Works, and he was able to help out a little bit. And people came and they took maps, park maps. That's what the majority of people came and took away from that. So like I said, I didn't talk to maybe 10 people total, but people were happy to see us there. And I think it'll only get better.
That's what I'm thinking here. And that's something that I know we discussed that I don't know, can't prepare, but I might have interest. Anyway, you know, I'll down you for a little bit, but to be there too. It's a great way, I think, to get membership for committees too.
We'll have some applications of next month. Maybe will we take applications for associate members as well, the same as we would any other member?
I would think so, just because any kind of, I would imagine the way it's written that the board of supervisors would any numbers, so therefore it would go in the same way. Still do the same thing.
Well, that's all I have. I love the Harleysville Market, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
It's just a little bit.
Oh, right. We brought that big sign out there that Doug has, the Public Works Award, the Build a Better Mousetrap. And it was so windy. And I had it on the easel, and it was a concussion waiting to happen. I had to take it down, but that would have added more to the mood, I think.
Smart enough. Any questions for Grace? Anybody here or anybody in the audience? Regarding that? Well, thank you, Grace, and it really does tie into our next thing as well, which is to draft a recommendation on the township process for residential facilities to request maps and other information. So when I was going over this agenda yesterday, I kind of had a couple ideas and started writing things down, went back to this today, and then realized I might as well just print this so I can share this with you. So I do have this as an idea, but again, I'm open to other things as well. And this could kind of tie into what Grace was saying too, because I put at the end of it, maybe even we could try a township on the go or a township mobile, similar to like a bookmobile, or kind of like have things out there that people can kind of grab on the go for something similar to exactly what we're talking about. And what I did here is trying to think of a way, we've talked about other ways for the facilities to request maps and other information. And pretty much the only thing that we have in place right now is we've gone in there a few times. Sometimes when we go in there, there's different managements. I've seen some of the facilities, 3 or 4 different managers, and I literally have a charge of the same facility. So we run into those obstacles, and a new person might say, "Oh, wow, this is great, but I have a lot going on, and this isn't something that's part of your everyday routine." So I thought that maybe if we had some kind of system or official thing, rather than just send us an email, some kind of program, they might feel more compelled to be active as well. So what I just jotted down is this idea is we establish maybe some kind of program, and its purpose would be, as we all said, to just help bridge the gap between township residents who might have difficulty visiting the township living in person. But maybe we could establish different roles. Just for example, I put a township role, which we can add and provide materials, notify facilities with new information, maybe offer a designated pickup or delivery times, however we're going to do that. But the facilities role, we could maybe ask them to designate a point person. And by having a point person, they might feel more obligated or more excited about this idea. And a point person role would be to request material in time and manner, just ensure responsible distribution of residents, and give us feedback, because as you just said, the park maps was the request. I think feedback is important. I might put that redundantly a few times in here, but as I was writing this out. As I said, designate a point person at the residential facility. This could be a staff member, people I've spoken to, community manager, the professional activities director, social worker, sometimes people. This is someone to be the primary contact that we could have, so we could follow up, just in case somebody does switch as well. Dedicated contact, we would have a clear and easy to use method for the facilities to request material. And I figure if it's too complicated, nobody would bother to participate. So this could be the same as it is. We use our email address. I don't know how hard or difficult it would be to create some kind of form, or whether we even need to do that. Maybe we would just be at 3 nights where we're running up need for. These are just different ideas. Regular updates. We should have some kind of way to proactively inform anyone participating when newer updated information is available. Our best to deal with anything from flyers or updated maps, and we should check in on this monthly and send out a monthly email or just notify if something new arrives. It's very kind of awful there, right, guys? It's where my visitors realize that I'm reading out loud. But just some kind of regular update, make sure they do something. Not so much of, oh, let's check in with facility A. Oh, now facility B needs something. That might get a little carried away and harder to follow there. So whether it be like a monthly email, or you just notify them if something new arrives. Then material request and getting it to them process. They could request a submission. The designated person at the residential facility can simply submit a request for specific items. They might say they want a dozen park maps, 20 trail maps, some brochures on whatever we may have back there as well. We encourage them to submit the requests either periodically, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. That's something we could establish inside. We could set specific dates and times for them to pick up the requested material, if that's something they'd be willing to do. Or, as we've talked here, we are okay with having volunteers deliver material on a set schedule. And, another way I was saying about that is, like I said, do it down to the local idea, our primary goal is to campaign, so if we have volunteers that drop it off, it's another way. Types of information for distribution, the maps, likely keep it to the ones we have available in our vestibule, people can always request different things, we can have information there. That someone says, oh, I'd like to request this kind of map. Same thing that people call in for, but maybe people didn't know they could call in for that. I left that blank though, just was gonna kind of look back there and jot some things down, and do have. Other things are flyers and brochures, there's information on community events, voting information, public transportation. Emergency guides, volunteer opportunities, any kind of public notices we get. I don't see that as often, but we have had a few, just pretty much as the newsletters, just anything you might have in there. We could have as possible information to distribute. I think it's important to have feedback opportunity, as I mentioned before, encourage the facilities provide feedback. On what information is most useful to the residents, what additional information will be beneficial. If there's any suggestions, and then work with process. So if we decide, hey, we'll do it by email, and that's not working, it's forward good. And just in general, I summarized it with the township to significantly improve information dissemination. And ensure that all residents, regardless of their mobility, have equitable access to vital community information. Other things I put down after the fact, consider checking with the library, senior centers, if they have interest in this too. Maybe just keeping a little area of the South Township, gather information, they run out of maps, we update that as well. And this could also be a trial and error thing, like running out of maps. And, we have to have other discussions, how to supply them too. And then, like I said, again, you could try what Ray was saying, maybe something at these community events such as the great opportunity that's the market. We could set up a little bit, maybe have a little display here or there. Come grab some, oh, we're walking around, might bring people in there as well. I think this like a trade show kind of thing, like it would be a attraction. Oh, what is this? There's a map on display. I forgot one, fantastic. We have a discussion around here and ask this question. And just, these are just some ideas of that. We have smaller scale way to put these on display. And just some food for thought. I didn't expect to print out the whole thing. I was writing it down and I was putting it together tonight. I thought I'll just try to edit it. I left a few errors, but these are my notes on that. And this is one thing I thought of. I'm going to pass a discussion on this. If anybody has an add, take away, or completely different,
Chris, ballpark, how many different materials did you have at the?
At least 10. Because I would have had more on display, but it was way too windy, I was using rocks to hold down the papers, but I had everything from permit applications to maps to voting, mail-in voting information, so I took everything I could from the office.
And so, well, 10 to 15 items that are definitely available for this kind of thing. Does the website have any kind of a store capability, merchandising capability?
I would have to look into that. I mean, I'm wearing some merch right now. That's-
I don't know, can a resident right now purchase logo merchandise from the website?
No.
No. Yeah, if you can find out, the functionalities there, where I'm heading is one mechanism of doing this to have them, purchase it through a website, if that functionality is already there. And people are used to looking at those kinds of websites and saying, I want one of these and 10 of these and whatever.
You mean, can an order form be done?
And
That is not merchandise, like, can someone place an order for information?
well, actually, a couple of different things. One is the functionality already exists to handle merchandise, and whether we could just piggyback on that. So that capability of ordering stuff is already there. But if not, maybe where you were headed, if not, there's the capability for setting up as as Kevin said, a special purpose form. And where they would select stuff off the list of ones, and that form would end up in your inbox or somebody's inbox.
That's, we already have very similar things, especially for volunteer boards, we have that kind of, capability, and that form exists online already, you know, it comes right to us for.
John, you gave me an entirely different idea as well, as you described that, another way we could even just get more traffic, like you're saying, some kind of barter thing. They have a display of a shirt and hat, whatever kind of other paraphernalia you have, and say, win one. All you have to do is come up, make sure you sign up for the constant contact, or show you're already signed up for constant contact. You have your name entered, you drop it in a jar. You will pick it at our meeting, encourage people to watch it, so it's Lynn, that makes people watch it, participate as well. We will allow the winner of this, they get a shirt. Sure, the township for doing, or if one shirt we find out we did not, you know, I purchased one and donated it, I think that's just some, thing that you just need that ideas or something. You're right, that is something that I didn't know where you were going, but that would draw people in, I'm walking around and that sure. Plus doing something. Yeah, that's one idea that you do,
That's, yeah.
communication, maybe wants to endorse that, we could reveal the winner. On our people, encourage people to watch that.
I belong to a club and we used to go, the club still goes to Lansdale Day and things like that. And we do something, we're just giving away a free membership. But it's the same idea, you know, to get people to fill out a card, get their email address. By offering something free, and you know, some kind of logo or merchandise is free.
Yeah, especially if you tell people share their experience of it, and congratulations, if you tell people, well, this then a lot of to do this. And they can enter all again if they show up again and say, yes, I have crossed the contact. Yeah, but that's just one idea. Grace, your thoughts on something like that?
I like the idea. I'm for it.
We want to try to push that for our next Harleyville market. Is that bigger locations? Absolutely. Touch up on that, that'd be great, very good. But back to the other things, another great point, Pat, both of you touched on this, stones, nothing would blow away. That's it's a great idea, but I can imagine the stress of, oh no, there's another one, let's find a rock. Oh, those people already took these rocks, I'm sure that stuff happens. And I have, as I said, I've heard some streets that I do, it's open to Township Day, I work there, really hired there for them, I see a lot of different vendors and stuff, some chase complaints, but none of them either. You know, if you missed that, however, I did notice as I walk around, a lot of people some people have those things where it's just a plastic thing. It's easy to grab, and I see it, they just work. Something that we would look into if we want to have a, you know, go kind of thing. Consistent, and you know, first time you use that, it's going to go, okay, well, actually, we need this kind of thing. That might be worthwhile as well, and if they have something like that, implement, take that to something else too. Different ideas, so don't get too carried away on that, I do like that idea of signing up, that would be fun. But back to the idea of how we can get back to how we can get a request for facilities. Again, I threw this out there as have something and just something that, you know, not even necessarily official. This is our program, or this is our style to do this. We have a formal way of doing this. We might have better success of getting it home. So I think before for a while, it's been this great idea, but you know, having something in place, you present it to facilities, I think would be a good way to go. And I just, you know, any other comments on this or suggestions on this? You know, favor and not favor, or whatever else.
How many facilities are we talking about?
We have, it's about 5 or 6. So, yeah, means Garwood, Parkview, Crest, Village Square, the Birches, Arbor Square, there to, the Arbor Square is over Village Square, and Mark Twain. Pheasant. Okay. Did I say the governing wood? Governing wood
Yeah,
is that I. Yes, so there's
just,
I think this, that might be. What the all. And I probably could have named one of those 12 too, so, but still, it's gonna go on, but I think that's a pretty, well, minus the articles. But yeah, I think that's about it, and again, we had, you know. Here's the stuff we had before, we're giving them, you know, copies of this, not this one particularly, but. We're looking forward, you know, taking our monthly meeting, I think, you know, that is also on here. Topic C, how we get future meetings, but I think establishing something like this, having that program would be a great way and to. Have a more, as I said, make it more. Nobody wants to bother, if it's too complicated, you know, if there's nothing official, but if we have something in writing where. We can send out, you know, here's our program, it gives us. Ability to check in on everybody once, I think that would be a good way to organize too and. See how it works, maybe we find, as we said, too many people are taking certain kind of that, and that's not a bad thing, but that is the thing about finding. Or that, make sure that we're able to do that, so we explore, okay, how do we meet this demand, I don't want to say I'm not going to, but we take that side, and say, okay. How do we find this, how do we get there, maybe nobody's taking anything, we realize, okay, we need to change this idea, but. These are just some suggestions to throw out there, but
I'm generally speaking, not a fan of being with the designated person, designated contacts, because they also going to deal with a specific field.
okay,
If there's some way we can do it through the web, so that it's available, and we might if there's some form similar to our free reference map. Every year we talk about these are the things that are available, and not one is generally available. for everybody.
right,
I'm not saying we designate people doesn't help, like I said, it can be a single point of failure, it can be, then, you know, if that person changes, and you know, without a residential facility, they may have, you know, a lot of turnover and, you're constantly chasing that down, or hopefully turn folks down. So,
or it has to be to the facility entirely.
right, so if we can avoid those kinds of situations and we still make it work, and do that.
That's great insight.
I think it also depends on the facility, like the Birch is a lot different facility than Pheasant Run. And again, looking at what Rob put together, I think we need to look at populations and the best way to communicate with them. So the Birch is probably not gonna go email, you know what I mean? So we probably will need a designated point person for that facility, whereas some of the other ones we want.
Well, another concept and great point to combine, and please, Rob, please feel free to chime in, Grace too as well. Maybe not so much have a point person, but we're going to have, hey, here's what we're going to do for your facility. In a sense, I'm saying, like, let's say, we'll make X the point person, so residential facility, say, Marketing, here's what you can do, if you need them, somebody from there will reach out here, and we kind of do like a guide list, whether physical one, email one that says, as you said, because there should be. They know how to reach their residents, you know, obviously the manager, and that's kind of what I was saying too, whether it's, we have a designated mailbox, because. We do have that Park View, you know, I know, Drive Park View, they have mailboxes. Right? Whereas you have a place like Kermit Woods, which they, you know, many residents live there, have their own mailboxes, so therefore. The best way might be an email, I know Village Square, they're quick to email all their residents and kind of updates, they even emailed in the past with communication. Information, so. Perhaps. We designate or just say 7-point person, good idea, because I agree with you now as well, those still good ideas. We say, here you go. Pheasant Run, this is what you can do, and it could be generic for each place. You need this, reach us here, here's the request, whether that's a form, whether that's an email back. So, everybody, I think that's very cool. any thoughts to that, I just kind of designate it that way, but I will, I think I'd like to be, make a great ballot person. Sorry.
Something to be a approved person for a place like that, where it works.
Do we let the facilities designate that idea?
Yes.
And that's what I think, so I agree with you, like,
Yeah.
kind of say, okay, you know how to handle it, because they might say, well, that's. You know, that's John's job,
Right,
James,
right.
Janine will do this, and then they know as long as we have that process.
Right,
So I'm with you, and I'm with you, but that's what I identified.
because I think you have to look at the facility very different.
Right, and some of them are rented, you know, facilities, other ones are more, as you said, there's more retirement in there as well, where it's, you know, a whole different process where they live all within the same main door, makes a big difference as well, just being an announcement on loudspeakers for all of them, so. That's a great point. And I think we should maybe then put a recommendation that if they want to have a point person, or it could be anyone from your facility, or a designated person might be one of the same. We shouldn't from there and just say, who's your point for this, right? Okay. I think it's great. Saying that. Now, in the way that they wanna reach us, do we, yes, we can do a form on our website, but would that be something that we wanna start with right away? If it's easier, let's do it, but if they really only need 6 maps, because you gave me 30 maps last time, and I still have. It's not 30 maps. Do we wanna have just maybe an email, or would that be hard to follow up on how? Where, and again, we only have, I don't say, well, we have 7, did I say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said 7 places. It's not like we have. A couple dozen where we have to gather, or even a dozen, we say, okay, well, this one, do we get an email from this person? No, yes, no. Should we reach out to them and kind of go from there? What is the thought process on that? I'm open to either, but.
You can have that as a starting point, see if people respond.
Just the emails and stuff.
That may be the easiest,
It wouldn't require anything additionally at the moment.
and all they would have to do is respond to it, and if they don't respond to it, then follow up with other ways.
And really, we don't know how to respond to this whole process yet. So that might be too much. Now, would an email be more difficult? You know, would it be easier for a facility to click on a site, or would it be easier?
Like, there is a comment, you're right. I think it's, one fits all.
Right.
So, I think we consider an email format, and I think it starts with, what's the materials, what are the 15 items that,
Yeah.
we're
Willing to all.
willing to provide, and so what is that product list? And from that, you know, what is your generic message, and then apply that generic message to an email in terms of a push communication, potentially a web form in terms of a user initiated communication. The portal, I mean, is there some way through the portal gets advertised a lot, so is there some way in the general comments or that it was structured? So that someone is request something through the portal. Hard copy form, where you said things like the market, just having a hard copy form, you know, fill out. But yeah, I think in my mind, I think it starts with what are the items and what's our general message, and then use that to construct a variety of communications.
Yeah. Great point. And now another question that we bounce off that, one insight of, we do have 7, but as we mentioned, is this something that's only 2? We want to expand this to the library, I mean, I don't see why not, they want to display. then you can add that to, back to a web form, supposedly when we had something like that. Would that be restricted then to these facilities to have the link? Therefore, or anybody in general could request one. And if they request one, it could come, it'd be difficult. Everybody, but if somebody would request one, see,
I'm not.
that's just another idea.
Who else, supply of those materials.
Right.
And part of it was when we were offering this.
And so just have a generic bit there, well.
We're updating the sheet, my contact was the library and they said that they'd taken the information, well, we did come through, so, yeah.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. The senior center is something else I would attend, but I'd be saying this. Perhaps firehouse, anybody who has the best of what they would want to take some kind of display. Now, it's a lot to ask because, you know, it's a designated area, that if someone knocks it over, we're not there, it has to be. So, but I think a place like library or something that's generally trying to serve the public and give information, senior center is a great start to. Raise well, that would be another thing too, before I ask you about, one of the things we want to do too is make it as easy as possible. If you had, as for staff to keep it functioning, you know, where it's not too much a hardship. And one thing I was initially thinking is, you know, back part of our meeting, okay, what kind of updates do we have? Well, it could be a quick brief, or like we give our updates to the committee reports, board meetings, okay, we received an email for this kind of thing. And then it could be on us to get it there. But by having a web form, that be work for you or difficult, you know, it's just generic, you could give the right update here, you even wants to get it out, what are your thoughts?
Where my mind is going is. There will be a form on the website, and that's a link that we can send to these organizations, but it will also just be there for an everyday user. I'm thinking just a list, and people can check off what it is they need and in what quantity. And if it's a resident, then we should have a packet for them ready to pick up, you know, it's not too much work by any means, and same with the business, and unless they prefer it to be dropped off, then I don't see that to be a real problem either, but I think a form is a good idea.
That's fantastic, thank you. And that's, you know, another great point, it doesn't just have to be restricted to. Yeah, things that serve the public, private entities that wanna have some, sure, doctor's office wants to have a little display, can keep people busy, sure. Anything like that, we'll take it. Great, that's great to hear, thank you.
I mean, another thing I would encourage facilities to submit requests on a regular basis. I don't think you can do that. I think you may be able to do the opposite. You may be able to build into your generic message that
Right.
distribution, whatever they
Yeah.
order, be distributed on a set, you know, twice a month or something. So you can kind of control how often the distribution has to. From which you can control.
And I
how
think,
often.
I think you're absolutely right, and my rationale for that, I think I was thinking more of, you know, hey, how it goes, but as it's developing, you're right, it'd be more, okay. So that said, maybe we should change this and please try and otherwise not this thing now. Oh, as I said, part of our meeting is, okay, is that okay with everybody once we have this play, here's what we do, just make sure we have everything, how many words would we get? And by then, hopefully we'll have what designated out that way, but make that part of our regular check once a month, how many orders we get kind of idea. Does that make sense? Like that could be our, rather than encourage them to regular update, we just regularly update. But we regularly check, and I guess another thing too is if we don't hear from somebody over, you know, for a long time, we always check in and just make sure they understand that they're able to do so. If we're hearing for one regularly or not. Good point, though, I'm glad you brought that up, because I agree with you, that's, it doesn't fit the same at the end, though. And that would take out, again, just some of the brainstorming that I had, how to designate, so requesting submission, there. We just encourage facilities to submit the request anytime they would want, and we would just fill it on that date instead, and. Then I guess we can go from there, of how we would get it out, I don't think it's a problem, And that's just set of facilities to drop them. That's really one trick, but that's some, I would like to one. Sure, we can find ways to do that. I think as for residents, we let that staff decide that basis as it comes in. I think it's important though, that only two carrying distracted, I like where this is going. John, you a great point, to get those 15 things. And really, I was gonna just kind of rack your brain and Grace too, like, you know, what kind of things you think you have out there that would be good, but. Whatever you brought, I'm guessing it would be good, it could be a quick reference guide for. Grab too, as I see that. And that includes flyers, brochures and all that stuff as well. So I think the types of items we should get together and. Go from there.
Yeah, like I said, the generic message, regardless of the communication channel you use, the generic message. We're trying to say. The list below is material available from the township, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Some paragraph. Anything in terms of its usage and distribution, if that applies, I don't know, the council has any restrictions on how to use it, distribute it. Quantity restrictions, we put that up front so that things would have but all those kind of generic things. Won't be messaging. And then we can massage it for the particular channel.
Yeah, no, I think that's great insight. Any other? I think it was just brainstorm ideas, it kind of sounds like we're really crafting something that's completely difficult, perfect, just following this line, I would really like where it's going.
Can't you have anything, so anything with the building permits or anything, is there anything else that happens in the township where people request forms, plans, documents, whatever?
Right.
There's a right to know request form process that people can go through. And it's a very simple application they can get online and say who they are, what they want, and why they want it, so it could be plans of any property really, but they do have to go through that. Application for legal purposes, you know. But we typically accept that digitally or in person. I wouldn't compare it to this, but
So any lessons learned from that process, it may not be the exact, but if there's anything you can kind of learn from that, leverage from that process. It's at least similar.
Right. On the website, I knew for permits, they have documents, forms with permits that you can, like to get a PDF. And do that right away, but. I guess if you can do that, you not everybody might be able to have things to print them, that could be a whole other thing too, if you like a physical one, but I think it says on here, like physical one. And we could have the same drop down, like, you know, 2 permits for this, stuff like that, that's pretty fun. But what I'm looking at, it's like, it's mostly PDFs, and I do know that I've seen forums that. It says you can stop it, that's on the resources there. Usually for requests, Grace, on John's question, would you get stuff like that? There's sometimes, like, let's say somebody needs a good website or might not have needs to do so or printer. Do they typically get a phone call or do you have more people come in person, or is it a mix?
it's a mix, and if people have trouble finding it on the website. I mean, we're always more than happy to mail something to someone or email to someone, so that's never really a problem either.
And I love that email, that was another way I guess you get requests too. Yeah, I mean, if we can establish. We're getting web form kind of thing, we could absolutely put this stuff in there too, or whatever else all feels appropriate, staff perspective. Any other,
What are the next steps?
that's exactly what I mean, food, any other questions or comments on these ideas or sites? I think, we can kind of go back to what we said, just to kind of clarify, and then from there, maybe put this into something a little more. You know, whether that's just draft up a couple drafts and kind of take a look at it. But yeah, ideal to have this on a one-page thing, that's something to kind of keep, you know, if they want, or could just briefly look at. But in general, I think what we're saying is. Not what we're saying, we just go back here, we have the same township role. The facilities role will be a little different now, instead of designating one person, we would supply them the link that they can request. What they would need, you can explain for facilities that brings to you, or you could designate time to pick them up at the township building. We don't need a point person at the residential facility. Right now, our contact could be, if somebody wants to send an email, we keep that option in there, right, that might be something, but I think web forms should be. Should be pretty. I don't wanna assume they're easy for everybody, but they should be easy for a lot of people as well to request. As for regular updates, we will explain that we will go over these monthly to kind of, you know, we will reassess, we'll find a word to text, say that we'll. Really, these every month we go through, we'll find a way, you'll see, go through, you request monthly at every third Wednesday. Make that as well. As we're getting into them, again, pick up, talk to staff, make sure what works best for them. And then the other thing on the back is to make sure you have the types of information available. I think our next step is to put this together. And then once we have something together, I don't think it's worthwhile to reach out to the library or senior center yet. But once we have something together there to say, hey, you guys want to do this too, and then contact them. And I don't want it hanging around by saying get it together. I'm already thinking of ways to kind of delete the stuff I have and pinpoint what we have and present that to you as well. Is that okay for our next steps there? Let's see, thumbs up from the township perspective, that's important. First, well. I think this is I think it's great what the different ideas and insights that everybody's added to this. Anything else anybody would like to add or consider? Again, we want to keep the generic message, start with the list, web form, generic form. And have the option to email as well. Any comments? Suggestions?
Right, is there anything that we can anticipate? Or not being comfortable? Generally speaking, it's,
I can't speak for everybody, but obviously, I do know in past discussions that I can say. There's never been a problem to get out match for people. I've come in and, you know, the ordinance, typically, again, on our morning meeting. Grab some stuff, ask, you know, okay, let's get some printing, we're having more, we're more actively doing this. That kind of it's so that's why we want to do this, but there's never been any issues. Definitely, I'm happy to bring this up at our next meeting, but working on it actively. I don't, what I was saying is I can't imagine then hesitation. Yeah, everybody is on board for just, you know, getting contact as possible. I would say with confidence, I know that I'll feel that one too. It's you know, the public as best. Clearly that you do bring up a point, everything in our committee really is recommendations, just like the other committees, we don't research this, we say, hey, based on this is what we feel, want to suggest, and we'll go through the process, but I can't imagine any kind of resistance or hesitation on this. I think this, I think it's a great idea, especially the only hesitation I would have personally, you know, I had to make a decision. How is this going to affect our township staff? Are there going to be hurdles? Is this something that we feasibly do? Is this something that's going to really put people back and, you know, be difficult to do it, or other ways of doing it? But it's great, we feel pretty good. This is pretty straightforward to do. We will be the ones checking in. All we need is just an update of the list requested. And I think I can imagine it. Any other comments or suggestions on these ideas here? Very good with that. I'm excited to see where this goes. This is just like the check mark here. Our next order is possible topics for future meetings. I want to kind of, we did talk about, and it says on here, explore how to reach out to nonprofits to serve the township, and let them know we can be a resource for them. And I do think that's important to say, but I think another thing we'll do for our next meeting too is go back to this, many things, that was something we want to put on our next agenda. Do you think it's feasible to be able to have an opportunity to do this at the next Harleysville market? The contest idea.
Considering it's been 2 weeks, I don't know that we can actually get like a product here. Maybe we can, because we don't just have them laying around. you know.
And if somebody would, maybe would get your size, too,
Yeah.
same. Then I get what you're saying.
Most likely,
I'll be happy to help with that too. You know, anybody else wants to hop on board with that or be there.
I personally actually won't be at the next one, so I think Holly and Doug are gonna fight over who gets to be there. And also thinking something like bucket hats or a hat, you know, that we can have on site. We wouldn't have to go through the order process, might be something easy. I know a lot of people like hats.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, so.
I think it's a sunny day, that'll be helpful.
And even, I know, do this through area or they have any events?
There's a presence there, they walk around.
That's cool. Yeah, that's another thing I was just saying, for the fire, you know, like say if the open house for the firehouse, they have, hats right there. But
Yeah.
firefighters will do that, however, the police do have stickers, teaching stuff that they'll set up when they go around, and that could be something that we could look into in the future. I mean, the reality is this market is attract thousands of people. Presumably a lot of them live in this area, a lot of them don't, and a lot of them come in this area, so we want to have, I think having an, you know, that's something we can talk about down the line, but great idea having trinkets and anything, is a great idea. Especially at a course out. But yeah, yes, I think it's definitely worthwhile checking into that.
Definitely would.
And again, I don't.
We have to. Everything about. Which trying to capture, so. If it's a. A lot of it's gonna be sure we have some. I remember. Was people that, the winners find my computer anyway, you know, those around that. We want to capture as something as simple as name and email address, name, phone number, and email address. And what do you do with that information? And making sure that they know what you're doing. Whether that's just a follow-up email to say, thanks for listening to the cruise. And you want a winner, but here's links to a whole bunch of information with the township, so it's just a one-shot deal. Or something else, but. What are you gonna capture? You usually want as few things as possible, and what I was saying, whatever. What are you gonna do?
You make a good point, and what I was originally saying, and maybe we should do what you're saying, why waste that opportunity in that moment? What I was originally saying is, you know, if you go to the website, we have a QR code on display. It says right there, I go to the website, it says, hello, would you like to sign up for constant contact? We just encourage people to sign up for constant contact, and, you know, obviously, they Google tell them, drop it in, okay, but the idea would be, okay, get up, you know, show me your phone, perfect, there you go, that's a sign up. That could be a quick way of just getting, and building ours, constant contact, and just letting people know about it, that's what I was thinking. You bring up something which is a whole other idea, and I'm not knocking that idea too, that could be something else we could do to capture that, but is that something that would require more papers for us, something that we could record it, or maybe it could just be something electronic, I don't know. I was just thinking they drop their name in a hat, they write it down, you take it, or whether they have the best contact, you know, or a phone number, yeah, we would be contact info. That's all I was thinking, do it with points on, I think it's worth discussing, and this is why I kind of jumped to this one, because this is something we could have. inactive for our next meeting as opposed to the nonprofits, which we'll discuss at next week, next month. Next week. Is that something, you know, in all seriousness, do we want to go that route, or do we want to keep it simple for this one, sign up for constant contact? Oh, you signed up, drop it in. Oh, I already have that. Oh, you do? Yeah, I got it. It's excellent. Make sure you keep working that property, making that, you know. And I'm open to either. I think the original one I said is just because of simplicity. To make it work. If we want to invest more, put more into it, we can do that again in the future, or we could do that now too. Maybe next time they say, well, I've already signed up for that. Well, now you can sign up for this, you know. I don't know, maybe some people might feel more hesitant. Filling out something physically when they go, oh, I didn't know the township had that, that was the idea.
My gut feel is question on the age, but my gut feel is people are more going to put their name, email address, and phone number on something, then we'll do some more. At that, that's also the experience I've had doing something similar that like against that year again.
I know, I'm glad you pointed that out too, because again, different perspectives as well. So that said, if they fill out their information. To get on constant contact, do we want to have both options available, perhaps then,
So,
and.
Because
we
Grace,
could
as
have-
a younger person.
Yeah.
Do you think younger population would use the QR code versus?
Yeah, I think having both options for someone to write it down and also digitally is fine and very easy to keep track of anyways, and
Yeah.
I'm also thinking, you know, last time I brought QR codes for our Instagram and Facebook, and you know, oh, sign up for Facebook, that's another entry. Follow our Instagram, that's another entry, you know,
That's
so
true.
I think that'll help.
Oh, yeah, increase your odds, follow us.
Yeah.
I get two for this, that's a great one. Now, again, and back to what Tom was saying too, then we have information. I think it sounds, correct me if I'm wrong, I like the idea of just having both options available, somebody. Would hate to have the town without manually to go, I'm sure we can still figure out, well, still very clearly. Do we want, I don't know what else we could use someone's information for, those, well, it's not like we're gonna solicit them with anything, once they're signed up for the constant contact, it's just going to go right to you. So I think you may write it down, we put it on there, or they put it on themselves.
We go in for the draft early version or whatever we just did, but it's not specifically for residents, but single for this situation. There. Hey, thanks for talking to us at the recent marketplace. You know, if you're interested, here's a bunch of links and QR codes for, you know, for township information. That's it. One time, follow up,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Or two, would we want to do that this one, or I would think maybe we should focus on that for after we officially have it. As a group, you know, you have the official writing, unless we put it together via email. If the last one's up there, we definitely.
No,
Fair.
you know, the reality is that you know, the follow-up to be a month later.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be immediate, so. Again, it's making sure that whatever information you're collecting, you know what you're gonna do with it. You have to be ready for the collection.
Right.
The follow-up, that time. You know.
Yeah, no, I think that's very valid as well.
We can try this for the July marketplace, there's also one in August too, so whatever doesn't work, we can.
Right.
Mhm.
Does anybody know off the top of their head if they did last September? Feel it close.
They're doing them up until December, I believe.
Okay, and then other things that you can do, for kind of on the next thing, consider for next time, too much, a lot, you should see them down. Something considers what other kind of events, as we say, the advertisers, not what other kind of events will we do with that? I know the Rotary, so as I said, as the weather is cooler in October, you know, they have a fall fest kind of thing that takes place. So if this is something that we feel comfortable with, here we go, here we go. And it doesn't always have to be in the end, township staff either, you know, that's, if we get volunteers, if we get people, this is something. We do, just to get out there, another great way to show people the resources that the township wants. Great.
Well, we tie it back to the facilities. With the facilities, any kind of.
Yeah.
This is the exact same thing. Somebody collect the information for a raffle to win a shirt. And the information collected when we used to give some kind of response. But at the moment of the event, all we're doing is a raffle for a township shirt. Hat, whatever. And all we need is the name, telephone number, email address.
It's great. These are great ideas, I think we made a lot of progress at this meeting today as well. It's great insights, and as I said, the last meeting, it's good ideas, and we're putting them, applying them. Again, our next topic of business is the topic of future meetings. I think this response next month, if everybody's okay with that. I really appreciate everybody's insights for what we have right now. And I'm excited to see what we can do with that. Keep everybody updated. If anybody has availability, like to attend, by all means, let us know. We'll see if we can do that too. We gotta be. Is that the Saturday in July? It's actually July 5th, and
It's the Sunday.
so it's
so-
July 6th.
Oh, 6, yeah.
Before it's like Friday. Just realized today, so I remember that. All right. And then hopefully on the agenda, we can put next time, date. In July, for our July meeting on the agenda, one of the things we can do is pull the winner from the raffle. We can get that together. That would be fun. And we'll encourage you to do. Hopefully, if we get 50 entries, we get one viewer per 50 might be a good ratio there. And for confirmation, myself here, it is the 16th, the last 16th, will be our next meeting. Our hope is that we'll have a new member. I don't see anything stopping that process, so hopefully we'll be up here with us as well. Again, great meeting. I wanted to just open up again, any other comments or any kind of suggestions or anything else anybody would like to bring up?
Today, be consistent with. When we approach this. In the backlog list, this, we're now, and focused on number 5. That you go up to the top of the list.
I would,
Otherwise, we
Yeah.
don't do service by having a list.
Right.
Not.
no, great point. By moving this up to the top, it becomes something that we can cross off, as we said. You can do that, is that? Do you think that would be the appropriate means for now, Jonathan, to move it up then?
That
We
was
discussed that, or-
15 also talked about contests, so there is, I mean, really, as a committee, that, we're now focused on number 5 and number 15.
I think so, I think strongly, yeah, we'll see that come, I agree, that the fair. And for anybody watching, explore options for additional resident outreach in various communication channels. Increase outreach to residents within the township, possible contests. And then 15 is recommendation for contests to encourage residents to use various township communication channels. Absolutely, touch both of those, and we perhaps touch anything else. Yeah, that I see, but. I think it's good to, and just to throw out there. As we've talked about here, Grace, it's something you think about is any kind of feedback or suggestions, just have a box. And I'm sure you'll get stuff that silly things in there or whatever too, so we have to leave them out, but and that's just my experience in other aspects when you have suggestion box or whatnot, you do get stuff every now and then, and every now and then you'll get something that is good, and it's a good insight to see what people like, what works, what doesn't work. Might be something to consider. Great point, John, speaking of off, thank you for bringing that up here. Yeah, we kind of, I've got a list of your, that back, so that brought that back there. Any other? That's it. Number 4 also says a contest, but I we got 5 and 15, I saw that too. Any other kind of? Any other suggestions on these, or any suggestions or comments? Today's meeting. Yeah. Moving on, I think, we can have a motion to adjourn. Before we do so, I just encourage everybody to continue looking at this list, getting the ideas, and really appreciate all the feedback, great ideas that everybody told us to have. Thank you. We have a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed. Very good, motion carries. Yes, thank you, Mr. Dawson, thank you. And, thank you very much. Great meeting, everybody.